Can you hear me? Yeah, we're good. I can see Heather and Billy and Malik and Selma and Deja. Hello, hi. Thanks for showing me your faces. It's nice to have a little interaction from real humans. I'm going to take questions as part of this, so you can just raise your hand whenever you want me to call on you. We have a few things to get through on the syllabus, maybe before I start taking questions. I have two helpers here, Abigail from LSAT Demon and Eric from LSAT Demon. How you guys doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I am just dandy. I'm excited to talk about how to afford law school applications. The chat's open, so you can ask questions over there if you would like. Eric and Abigail will both take questions privately. If there's stuff that you're shy about sharing with the whole class, you can talk to them in the background if you are so inclined. All right, so how to afford law school applications. This is not law school tuition we're talking about. This is before we get to law school. This is applying to law school costs. So we're talking about the LSAT, obviously. Maybe we can think about a running total here as we go. LSAT, obviously, you have to take it at least once, and that's going to cost you, how much is it now? $210? $210 every time you take it? Okay, for a total of possibly taking it 5 times in a matter of a couple of years, potentially. Not everybody has to do that, but 3 times probably for most people, and 5 times for some people. $215 every time. Thank you, Eric. All right. We have something called the Credential Assembly Service. The Credential Assembly Service is an aggregator. It's like the Common App for undergrad, kind of. It's an aggregator where they take your LSAT score, your undergraduate transcripts, your personal statement, letters of recommendation, all that other stuff, and they charge you a fee for that. And almost all law schools require that you use the Credential Assembly Service. And the Credential Assembly Service is going to be an additional, how much, Eric, since you've got the link up?
$195.
$195. Maybe you can put that in the chat as well. We'll keep a running tally in the chat. So then, okay, there are additional fees. Well, I shouldn't say most law schools used to charge an application fee. I think those application fees are somewhere around, anybody know who's looked at a school recently, how much a typical school is charging for application fees?
I'd average it around $100.
Around $100. Okay. Around $100 for law schools. Okay, Selma, Robert saying maybe there's some schools that are a bit lower. Okay, maybe we call it $75. Does that seem fair? $75 application fee. How many schools actually charge that application fee? Rough percentage? %10. Whoa. Okay. Robert, yes, you're right. Most are going to offer waivers. So schools, I would think that if you walked in off the street with a completed application, they might be happy to take your application fee. But if you have ever talked to them, they're going to try to get their hooks into you by giving you free applications. So those application fee waivers can be gotten. But let's say you're not getting application fee waivers, and let's say you're applying to 10 schools, which I would think is a really kind of a minimum number of schools that most applicants should be applying to. If you apply to 10 schools for $75, there's $750. We can add that to our running total because we're looking at $215 for one attempt at the LSAT. If you're taking it 3 times, there's $645. Plus $195 for Credential Assembly Service. So we're at $840 plus $750 worth of application fees if you don't get them waived. Now we're up north of $1,500. And we're not quite done because the LSAC from the Credential Assembly Service has an additional fee. For every school that you apply to, LSAC's going to charge you a $45 report fee. And yes, Forlesia, I see you in the chat talking about the LSAC fee waiver. We will certainly talk about that during this class. That is excellent that you got it. So for every school you apply to, there's that $45 LSAC fee. So we're looking at another $450 there. So now we're looking at like $2,250 maybe for most people to sensibly apply to law school. And on top of that, definitely got to talk about the cost of LSAT prep. That's me. We get paid for LSAT prep. Some of you are LSAT Demon Live subscribers and you already pay us. If you do pay us for prep, we're $295 a month at the top level, $95 a month at lower levels. And, depending on how long you study and what level of help you end up getting, private tutoring is even more expensive than that, of course. But if you're going to spend, a typical 3 months, and let's say you're our middle level of subscriber, $195 a month. So $200 for 3 months, $600 there for prep. And for some people, that's totally sufficient to crush the LSAT. Other people wouldn't need quite that long. Other people are going to need longer, sometimes much longer, to really reach their goals on the LSAT. That part of it, of course, is critical. If you're brand new to me, I don't know everybody in the room, so I don't know where you're at in this process, but it is really critical that you get the very best LSAT you can possibly achieve. LSAT is the primary determinant of where you're going to go to law school and how much you're going to pay to go there. But even if you're not worried about the scholarships, it's just so critical for admission. We're going to talk about it on the LSAT Demon Daily podcast sometime soon, but Eric just actually shared with me some really interesting graphs that show how starkly schools are admitting people right on their median. Their median LSAT is clearly a driving factor for them. And so in that case, it's actually 1 point is the difference between getting in or not getting in at several of these schools. And we'll name names and look at some schools that are just very clearly focusing on the LSAT, but all schools are focused on the LSAT. So no matter where you want to go, you need a great LSAT. And if you want a scholarship, which I think you should want a scholarship given the conditions in the market, you really do need the best LSAT you can possibly achieve. So that's something then that has to be budgeted for. All right. So I think we're now getting into the $3,000-$4,000 range of how much it probably costs to prepare for a few months for the LSAT, take the LSAT a few times, apply kind of minimum broadly. 10 schools to me would be like, okay, if you carefully selected those 10, that can make sense. But many people are going to want to apply broader than that to end up getting the very best offer they can get in the scholarship market. Maybe that's a good point to stop and ask for questions. Anybody have anything on their mind at that point? Don't be shy. You can queue up or you can ask questions in the chat.
It's only 4 o'clock, bro. I was gonna go shower and then.
Somebody has an open mic. Sorry. Basic question here. I have a master's degree. My undergrad GPA is not that great, but if master's is factored in, I have a higher GPA. What should I do? Unfortunately, the higher GPA for your master's program just isn't going to really be relative or not really going to be relevant to your law school admission case. It's your LSAT and your GPA, your undergraduate GPA, that's going to really matter. Genesis.
Hi, Nathan. I have a question. So I was thinking about getting a master's degree because I've been on the LSAT journey since 2020, but I didn't really take it seriously at first. And then I subscribed to the Demon, and now I practice more, and I'm getting a higher average on my practice tests.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like it's just taking too long, and like for me, and maybe I should be dedicating my time at this moment. I don't know, like what are your thoughts on like taking too long on this process?
I don't think there is any such thing as taking too long on this process. Your case for law school admissions is your first legal case. You need to accumulate evidence for yourself, evidence in favor of your candidacy, starting with probably your LSAT, because that's the thing that you can really do something about. But for some students, it takes them a couple of years, but it transforms your case as a law school applicant. It turns you from somebody that they wouldn't have admitted to somebody that they will fall all over themselves trying to give a full scholarship to, if you can get it done on the LSAT. And many, many people do. I can't tell you how many 20-point plus improvements I saw this year. Dozens. I mean, just buckets of huge improvements.
Thank
All right.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so let's get back to the financing topic a little bit, because there are things that you can do to save some money in your law school applications. So the first thing to save money on law school applications is definitely apply for the LSAC fee waiver if you haven't already. The LSAC fee waiver will grant you a couple free attempts at the LSAT. It'll also give you the credential assembly service for free. It'll also give you a handful of those $45 report fees that I was talking about. And it strengthens your case for getting application fee waivers for pretty much any school. If you say, hey, look, I got the LSAC fee waiver, can I get a fee waiver to your school? I'll be pretty surprised if they say, no, we still want to charge you $75. I think that they're going to grant that. Even if you don't think you qualify, you might be surprised. I'm not sure exactly what the process entails, but it does differ from like the FAFSA or whatever. And so maybe parents' income or savings used to count against you, but it might not for the purposes of the LSAC fee waiver. So you might want to consider trying to apply, even if you've gotten shut down for other stuff. I think it's worth like at least a couple $1,000s if you get it. I mean, 2 LSATs plus all those report fees, plus credential assembly service, plus potentially other application fee waivers. I mean, yeah, it's worth a lot of money. LSAT Demon actually gives a discount as well. If you have the LSAT fee waiver, LSAC fee waiver will give you basic for 4 months for free, or for a $30 fee that the LSAC charges us actually. And we'll give you also discounts off of any higher level plan if you get the LSAC fee waiver. So definitely apply. There is an appeals process. Thank you, Rhiannon. The appeals process, you know, I don't know, they'll tell you that you failed and you'll have to appeal, but we have heard of people showing the right kind of evidence on appeal and actually getting the fee waiver. So definitely apply for that if you can. Save yourself a couple $1,000s. Ask schools for application fee waivers. Don't just pay application fee waivers. Somebody put in the chat that they thought 10% of schools are actually charging application fees. So don't pay those fees. Get the waivers. Definitely ask for them. If you're in contact with a school, tell them I'm serious about applying. Hey, you know, I've been getting application fee waivers from other schools. Should I, you know, do you do that? I don't know. Just ask, really. Just ask. And you'll hopefully be pleasantly surprised to get all those application fee waivers. You can ask them however you're going to ask them. It doesn't matter. You just got to talk to them. So if they're emailing you, email them back. If you're talking to them over the table at a conference or at one of those pre-law fair, whatever things, just talk to them. Be a normal human being. You can, if you've had a phone conversation, you can ask them on the phone, but just ask. And worst that can happen is they say, sorry, we don't do that, but we still want you to apply anyway. Okay. application fee waivers, LSAC report fee waivers. That's what I meant to say. LSAC report fee waivers, that's like the bonus level of getting free application shit, okay? So it's harder, but it does happen that you can ask a school, hey, thank you for your application fee waiver, but now I want a waiver for the $45 fee that LSAC is going to charge me when I send the report to you. And of course, if you have the LSAC fee waiver, you're already going to get 6 of those report fees for free, but maybe you want to apply to 15 schools or 20 schools. And if you're going to apply to 20 schools, 20 times $45, we're talking about kind of a lot of money, $1,000 really. And so you might be able to get some of those defrayed, again, if you simply ask. The schools have the ability to log in on their end and pay those fees for people, but they're going to be less likely to do it because it's actually $45 out of their pocket, because they're going to actually pay that money to LSAC in order to get your report fee paid for. Awesome. Micah says, a friend of mine just got the $45 fee waived at University of Tennessee law. That is fantastic. Anybody applying to Tennessee, you now should ask them, can you waive that application fee? Don't feel bad, y'all. They charge $50,000 a year tuition. So this is nothing. This is just, fractions of pennies of the total expense of law school. So if you can get those waived, it's awesome. Again, I would just give them reasons. The fact that you got the LSAC fee waiver is an excellent reason. You just say, hey, I want to apply to your school and I did get the LSAC fee waiver, but I don't know, I guess you'd be telling them that you're applying to more than 6 schools, but so what? I mean, that's fine that they know that you're like a real player in the market, or that you're going to find out your actual value in the market. So yeah, just say, can you waive that $45 fee for me? And you'll see how interested in you as an applicant they really are. All right, so that's that. Candidate referral service. This is actually the first item on our syllabus. Candidate referral service is a checkbox, essentially, when you're signing up for the credential assembly service, that LSAC service that I was talking about earlier, the clearinghouse for your law school applications. Candidate referral service is basically a box where it's like, hey, do you want to be part of the candidate referral service? And what the candidate referral service is, it's just all the law schools shopping for applicants, and they're going to be able to see that you're a potential applicant to law school somewhere in the United States. And they're going to start just like blanketing you with law school admissions spam. But it's spam with dollars in it, because some of those offers are going to be, hey, we would love for you to apply to our school for free. Oh, that's nice. I never thought about your school before, but yeah, sure, maybe I'll think about it. Of course, those schools would be excellent schools to ask, could you also waive my LSAC report fee, since they're so interested in your application. Other schools are going to be sending out wild things like unsolicited scholarship offers before you've even applied. I see some of you nodding. That is a thing. And yeah, it's kind of hilarious. But the second you sign up for the candidate referral service, you might have letters arriving in your inbox that are, like, you've won, that kind of a thing, where they're telling you that if you apply in this certain way, and if you are admitted, then you will also be getting a scholarship to their school. Read all the fine print, y'all, before you get too excited about any of these offers. They're sharks in these waters. They are looking to take you down. They want your admission, right? They want your tuition money if they can get it. But if you have the right numbers, then they want you. And so they're going to be out there doing things to try to get you reel you in. Sorry, I'm totally mixing the metaphors, but they will try to get you to sign to apply in special ways that then commit you to their school. So some of you are familiar, and this is not really the topic of today's presentation, but some of you are familiar with early decision or early action programs. And sometimes those early decision programs are actually binding. So just be careful with the spam that you start getting the second you opt in for the candidate referral service. I do recommend that you opt in, but then every offer, you just got to think about like, okay, they're trying to get me into bed here, and you got to be like a little savvy about how you're going to negotiate with hopefully not just one school, but you need to be putting feelers out there, applying broadly, and then weighing the offers when they start coming in. I think that might be it on syllabus issues. Am I missing anything there? I guess I haven't covered that timeline bullet point. We've talked about thousands of dollars worth of expenses, some of those that can be defrayed, like probably you can save, at least half of those $4,000 or whatever dollars that it might cost most people to apply to law school. Again, it's $4,000, by the way, to win $150,000 of free law school education. So I think you're kind of crazy if you don't spend the time and money up front that it's going to require to apply to law school in a savvy way. If you don't prep for the LSAT, if you only apply to one school, you're just going to end up getting a way worse deal on a $150,000 investment. And so I would encourage you to make some investment up front. We have a timeline here now for how to get ready to go to law school. Most people are just like, the day they decide that they're going to law school, they sign up for the LSAT and immediately start looking, like writing a personal statement because they're going to apply right now to whatever their local school is. And that is not the way to do it. Some of you have done that already and it didn't work out, or some of you went down that road partially and then we talked you out of that ill-fated route to law school. If you're going to play the game our way, if we're going to not pay for law school, essentially, first thing is probably to prepare yourself financially. Like you've got, maybe your parents are helping you out, in which case you don't have to worry about it so much. Maybe you've got a steady job, in which case you don't have to worry about it so much. But if neither of those things are true, if you're like, about to graduate from college and you're just at your first job out of college and you've got bills to pay, and you're going to have more bills to pay with this process. So get as much of it defrayed as possible, but you might also just think about saving money for a while before you start going down this road. Certainly save money before you end up firing off applications, especially shitty applications. Wasting money on bad applications to the wrong schools late in the cycle in a way that's not going to get you the scholarship offers that you really want, that's just a waste of money. I'd rather you take more time at it and invest a little bit more in the process so that you end up getting the killer offers that we really think you can get. Budget time and money both for LSAT prep. We have lots of free resources at the Demon, including this class, but there's a limit to how much we can give you for free. We got all kinds of people working for us, and it's our time and development resources and all sorts of stuff to bring you the Demon. And so we do charge for excellent LSAT prep products at a variety of levels. Some people are going to end up spending a couple $1,000s with us at LSAT Demon. Other people are going to, do $95 a month for a few months, or maybe they get the LSAC fee waiver and they get some of our help for free, or somewhere in between with a discounted plan. But, it's probably going to take you 3 months. Not everyday study, by the way. We definitely recommend a longer time frame for LSAT prep in most cases. So you can study like an hour a day or hour and a half a day for a long period of time, and you can make really, really amazing progress on the LSAT. So, if you're working full time or if you're in school, think about like, well, okay, I can start doing, a test a week in preparation for an LSAT months from now, and just kind of chip away at it is a very sensible way to do your prep. So think about, the other thing you need to budget time for is that law school applications happen on a rolling basis, and we see excellent offers for people who apply at the beginning of the cycle. The later you apply in the cycle, the worse probably on average your offers are going to be. So there's a big incentive to apply early in the cycle when the feeding frenzy is on. It's scholarship season right now. Offers are in the mail for people who applied early. So that might mean that you need to plan ahead so that you can get your application in early. You also need to plan ahead for potentially multiple retakes on the law school admission test. The LSAT, you're allowed to take it 3 times in one academic cycle, or 5 times if you cross the magical cycle reset boundary, which happens before the August LSAT. And so you could take it 5 times ultimately, and only your highest score would be really relevant to your law school or scholarship considerations. And so there's a big incentive to take it more than once. Schools are really only going to look at the highest score. They see all of them, but they don't do anything with the lower scores. They might ask you to explain why you improved, or explain what the discrepancy was, or explain why you took it so many times. But you can always just answer truthfully, I thought I could do better, so I took it again. And if you did score better, then they're going to want you because you scored better. And that's really the only thing that's relevant. So don't waste attempts at the LSAT. Don't go take it without the proper preparation. Make sure that your practice test scores are something that you would like to put on your official record before you take the official test. But do lots of practice, get yourself ready, and then plan to take the official test at least a couple times, and maybe 5 times, to ensure that you get your eventual best, highest score. I mean, we've got multiple success stories. I know someone who is at Yale who took it 5 times. I know somebody who is on a full ride scholarship who took it 5 times. And, I know a million of those people. So, but Matt Dumont, who works at the LSAT Demon, took it 5 times and got 171, and then got a full ride to law school. And he's just totally killing it. But it did take him, quite some time in order to prepare. So you got to budget time and money for LSAT prep, and then the time and money for the applications. And that's really going to be around September of the year before you want to start law school. Some schools were accepting applications this year in August. So we really encourage people to apply as early as possible in the cycle. And that's going to be a chunk of money there, with money on the way for LSAT prep for most people. All right. I've run out of bullet points to talk about. Let's get into some questions, please. If we can try to keep them related to law school applications financing, I would appreciate it. But we can open that up if we run out of those kinds of questions. Jay.
I tried to look it up real quick while we're talking, and I think I have the answer. But in terms of the amount that they allow you to, or sorry, the time length, like, would you need to apply now before the new fiscal year starts, or is it based off of like previous year taxes? Or if you get approved, is it like only for a year or until you finish the LSAT? Or
I know there's people in the room who've actually gotten approved. All right, so it's good for 2 years. Thank you, Bonnie.
All right, thank you.
Sammy, yeah, if you get denied out of school and apply the next year, you're going to be paying that application fee again. But you might be able to get it waived in both years potentially. Some schools just dropped their application fee entirely. And when that happened, lots of they just started giving out those application fee waivers like candy, because they know that other schools are fishing for applications that way. It's a real competitive market. You guys, you've heard us talk about it probably on the Thinking LSAT podcast before, or seen us on the LSAT Demon Daily on YouTube. Or heard us in class, obviously, but watching these, 200 law schools fight for applicants every single year. You know, you guys think that you're in a fight with each other for seats. That couldn't be farther from the truth. You guys are very, very attractive to the schools, and they fight with scholarship dollars to sort you out and get the best that they can get in their local area. They want to rise in the rankings, and they do that by getting great applicants. They think LSAT and GPA equals great applicant. And so they like hunt you guys to your benefit, because you end up getting these crazy offers if you are savvy about the way you apply. All right, questions. Oh, here we go. Does an applicant get better merit scholarships with both high GPA and LSAT, or could you still get at least 50% tuition money with a et cetera, et cetera? Yeah, Martha, you need to go to lsatdemon.com/scholarships. There's a link. Thank you, Eric. That tool will let you use public ABA, that's the American Bar Association, data. This is mandatorily reported data from each law school every single year that we use to fuel the admissions estimator or scholarship estimator on lsatdemon.com. But there you can play with various LSATs and GPAs. Your master's GPA doesn't matter, but the master's is a feather in your cap. It just doesn't matter for law school admissions because it's not going to show up when US News ranks schools. Yeah, you might want to write an addendum, you know, the 2.5, maybe it was a long time ago, and you want to just explain that you're a different student now. You know, you can write one sentence that just says, hey, my 2.5 was from whenever, you know, and and my 3.84 that I have now is more reflective of my ability or whatever, and they'll get it. But the thing is, it doesn't help them in the rankings game. So how much are they going to actually care? Well, a little, but not as much as if it actually helped them get higher ranked. I'm planning to take the LSAT next month. How realistic is it for me to get full rides / half to full 2023 law school? Whoa. Go to lsatdemon.com/scholarships, Christine. Although I don't think you should be trying to go to law school in 2023. I think you need to be trying to go to law school in 2024. At this point in the process, you know, you're just lining up behind people who have already gotten scholarship offers in many cases. You haven't even taken the LSAT yet. I can't imagine applying this cycle. I think you need to be thinking, how do I put my best foot forward next September? Totally kill it, and then apply early. You know, are admissions consultants worth it? I think that I don't know. It seems like they make their living mostly off of people who never get it done on the LSAT. And I know how easy it is to get it done on the LSAT. I think your time and money are better spent getting it done on the LSAT, because you can show them via that one number, you can show them so much about your capabilities. It's your capacity for English, your capacity for logic, and your capacity for hard work, because the test is extremely improvable. You can get way, way better at this test. Over the course of a few months, you can transform your law school application through the LSAT. And spending thousands of dollars on, you know, making other elements of your application as good as they can be, that's like, to me, it's like trying to get in on the side door instead of going in through the front damn door with the right LSAT score. Any other questions? We got plenty of time. What do you guys want to talk about? Eric.
I might just quickly chime in with something that
Yeah,
occurred to
go.
me when we were talking about timeline, which is just from personal experience, highly recommend as much as possible to avoid overlap between your LSAT prep and your admissions timelines. Because I made the decision to delay my applications and just focus on the LSAT first, I had zero overlap between taking the LSAT, worrying about the LSAT, studying for the LSAT, and asking for letters of recommendation, making my resume, writing my personal statement. I just didn't have to deal with all of that at once. So if you can go that route, highly recommend it.
Yeah.
As another thing to consider as you plan your timeline.
Yeah, it's hard. You know, I think that a lot of people might find that kind of scary. Like, oh my God, how long is this going to take? And we understand that you had plans to get in law school right now. But it's such a huge investment that we just really recommend rethinking your whole strategy for doing this. If this was a last minute idea and you're trying to do it right now, I really don't think that's a good plan. I think you need to be strategic about this. If this works out, this is going to be the rest of your career. And even if you're a little bit older, you're still going to end up practicing law for 20, 30 years. Like, it's silly to rush into this no matter how old you are. Let's see. Okay, random questions from the chat. On the podcast, we mentioned live classes for accommodated students. Yeah, we don't have like specific classes for accommodated students, but we do have teachers who were themselves accommodated and know about it. So lots of different resources available. Any advice on international law schools such as Canada? Well, Canada is really the only place, I mean, only Canadians in addition to America. The only reason why people ever take the LSAT really is for Canadian or American law schools. Canadian law school is a little different. They don't play the scholarship game the same way that US schools do. I think it's because Canada is just overall a more civilized version of the United States. I don't know. One of many good things about Canada. Schools are more reasonably priced to begin with, and they don't give these merit-based scholarships, which are essentially just tuition discounts, fighting for the best applicants. They just don't really do that up there. Some Canadian law schools do average your LSAT scores, I guess. So then you got to be a little bit more careful about how many times you take it, or taking it when you're unprepared. I guess even more, you have to be careful about taking it when you're unprepared, if they're always going to hold a low score against you via averaging. Other than that, I don't think that things are terribly different. I mean, you still want your best LSAT to get into whatever best school you can get into in Canada. There's resources there in the chat about Canada as well. Let's see. Anybody want to talk to me? Raise your hand. Financial difference between. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that.
Oh, the financial difference between public universities and private universities. Is it worth applying / attending a private school if the overall tuition is higher? Nat, we just like don't even really recognize the difference between public and private schools. What's the difference? They charge almost the same prices. They all play these weird, or most of them play these weird scholarship games. I guess sometimes state schools don't do it quite as badly. But they are, I mean, if they give you a scholarship, then I don't care how much their tuition is nominally. So even if the tuitions are different nominally, they might make up for it with scholarships. I don't think there's anything wrong with, private schools doing legal education. I don't, maybe there are like lots of really shady for-profit schools way down in the rankings. Then again, there are bad state schools way down in the rankings too. So I don't really have any specific beef with private education. How many schools do I recommend applying to? I mean, earlier I said 10. That's kind of at a minimum. It varies person by person. You know, if you really want to play this game to the best of your benefit, I think you should be geographically flexible if possible. You know, you're only going to be in the law library anyway, so you should maybe think about being willing to move to law school somewhere else. And I think most people can pretty easily find 10 schools that they're going to apply to. Now, other people, you know, you own a house, your spouse has a job in the town, you just can't move. Well, that's a bummer, because now you're kind of at the mercy of your local law school. Hopefully they don't know that you're so beholden to them, and will still give you a scholarship anyway. Bonnie.
Hello. So I applied to exactly 10 schools, and I was very geographically flexible, and I was also, you know, rankings flexible in terms of, you know, going anywhere from single digits up to low triple digits, right? So
Yep.
I was pretty strategic in what I spent. So there are 5 to 10 other schools that I would have applied to if money were no object, you know, and I haven't gotten any acceptances yet. So I guess my question would be, is it worth it at this point if I could scrounge up another few $100s to get in a few more applications now? Or do you think I should just hold the line, wait and see what happens with those 10, and worst case scenario, wait yet another cycle to go to school?
Are these other schools like actually relevant? I mean, you want to go to, I can't imagine that you want to go to school number 11, but.
Well, no. I mean, like I said, I was really broad in terms of both geography and rankings. So these other 5.
So just throw another,
They're like scattered in within there. You know what I mean? So some of them may be closer geographically to some of the schools I've already applied to, you know, and I was trying to.
Yeah, I think Eric's right. I mean, Eric has also applied this cycle. Eric, how many schools, if you're comfortable sharing?
17.
Okay.
17 schools,
Right.
hasn't heard anything back yet. So, you know, maybe they're just not firing off those decisions instantly. And it, of course, again, depends where you apply.
I heard one thing which might be interesting, but I had an interview with a school, and the admissions officer who interviewed me at the end of the interview basically said, and this is one school, so who knows how it applies, but basically says, we have a target of about 250 students. We over enrolled at over 260 last year. So we've been instructed to take a few less this year. So we're usually out there early in the cycle. That probably won't be true this cycle to the same extent. So she just told me, hold tight. It might be as late as January. If you get offers from anywhere else that have a timeline attached, reach out, let me know. So it could just be different from school to school, whether they're adjusting when they usually send out their acceptance.
It's definitely gonna be different from school to school, right? I mean, we watch this every year. We see schools try to make splash and get, you know, a boost in the rankings. We see, you know, weird things like UC Irvine Law didn't even exist 10 years ago, and when Irvine Law became a thing, they gave full ride scholarships to every single person in their incoming class. So, you know, how's that for a application strategy, or a move by that school, I should say. People get hired and fired. They go up and down in the rankings. They change strategies. I mean, they really are competing against each other for you. So it's always going to be different. Bonnie, did that answer your question, you think?
Yes, and I just wanted to kind of add, because this may have affected some other people on here. I guess I technically did get one acceptance, but it was part of the erroneous Northeastern accepting 4,000 people, most of whom hadn't even applied this cycle. So
ones that were already enrolled at Northeastern Law from the previous year or whatever that was. Yeah, that was strange. Hang in there. Hey, I know, guys, it sucks. Eric, Bonnie, everybody else who already applied. The waiting does really suck. It feels terrible. You feel like they don't really want you. There's something wrong with you, whatever. No, it's all just a big strategic game on both sides, big game of chicken. Ultimately, the schools do admit way more people than they can possibly actually take. They have to do this because if they don't, they won't end up with enough people in their class. This is all public information. If you go to lsatdemon.com/scholarships and look at that scholarship estimator again, the little PDF link next to every single school shows right at the top on their 509 report. It shows how many applications they received, how many people they admitted, and then how many of those actually matriculated. And at the vast majority of schools, they're admitting, 3 times as many people as are going to actually go to that school. I want to say that I looked at it recently, and Yale was the only school that had more than 50% of the admits actually go to their school. So every other school had to admit 2 for every school, for every person who actually went there. And that includes Stanford and Harvard and all the other law schools. So that kind of echoes what I was saying earlier about you guys think that you're going to be so lucky to be blessed with an offer of admission at one of these schools. And I'm here to tell you the exact opposite of that, which is no, they are out there every single year competing for you guys. And they're going to be, you're going to have more acceptances than you know what to do with if you do it right. Yale enrollment rate, 70%. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. But I was shocked when it might change. I mean, obviously it changes year to year, but the year that I looked, Harvard and Stanford both were under 50%. Yeah, there you go. Okay. More people rejecting Stanford law than accepting Stanford law after they're already admitted to Stanford law. The type of people who get into Stanford law reject Stanford law is what I'm saying. On average. Okay. What else do we want to talk about? I have a class at the top of the hour where I and a bunch of LSAT Demon students will do all different areas of the law school admission test. It's a 2-hour class. I will see some of you there. I'm not going to hang out here if you guys aren't asking questions. So this is the time, y'all. There we go. Jay?
So I have a specific, I don't currently have an LSAT, nor am I ready to go for something like a Columbia, but
Okay.
It's the only school that does a dual degree with an MFA. A lot do MBAs, but I come from like arts and whatnot. So it's the only dual MFA JD program. I mean, it's 70K, right? I mean, it's just bonkers, right? It's silly.
It just seems like a luxury good to me.
Right. It's just if you have the cash, really. It's not.
Fantastic. If you are,
which I don't. I mean,
if your parents are billionaires, then yes, do it. But otherwise, I mean, what are you you're gonna become the premier art lawyer just because you have this MFA in addition to your JD? Bullshit. Like, you'll see Yale lawyers on any matter you want to talk about, and they'll be more than happy to talk to you. They're not going to be scared away by your special MFA. I mean, actually, no lawyer is going to be scared of your MFA. Quite the opposite. Lawyers are going to say, great, you have a JD, let's go. Like, you're qualified to practice law. Let's practice law.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Stephanie?
Hey, how are you? I had a quick question about like using the scholarship estimator and reading the 509s. I'm always confused as when I'm reading it, I look at the median scores for some of the schools. And then when you look at the scholarship estimator, sometimes they say like more than half when you plug in like the numbers, they're, different numbers. What does that mean? Like, do different schools, I'm just trying to figure out why a school that's like ranked lower on the list only technically offers more than half, but then something higher offers more. And I'm just trying to understand how to.
They're all playing the rankings game in a slightly different way. I mean, some schools are offering scholarships to 99% of their class. University of Michigan. other schools are only offering scholarships to 40% of their class. I say only 40%, but that's kind of low in this game. So most schools are giving most students scholarships. Many schools are giving more than half to more than half of their class.
Okay, is that number something that we figure out by calling the school? Is it more so on the 509?
No, it's on the 509, Stephanie. You do it for me right now, Stephanie. Go to lsatdemon.com/scholarships. And then next to any school, click on that little PDF and open up that 509. Could be hard if you're on your phone.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm on here now.
You got it?
Yeah, I have.
So, yeah, okay. So, what school were you looking at, by the way, Stephanie?
So there's some Florida-based ones. I just opened a random one right now. Just the first one that I clicked on. It says Louisiana State University. This isn't one I was looking at. This is just one I opened. But one of the ones I was specifically inquiring about, I think, would be Stetson Law School.
Okay. So yeah, you can search for Stetson in the browser, and then you can go right there, click on the PDF for Stetson University. Yeah, they accept 40% of the people who apply. But the enrollment rate from offers of admission is only 34%. So they're admitting 3 people for every 1 who's going to go to their school. And to get those people to actually go to their school, there are 300. So I'm down on the bottom of the second page. There are 906 people at Stetson. And of those, 766 of them get some form of grant. So 85% of the class is getting some sort of grant. And that breaks down 2% are getting full tuition, 25% are getting somewhere between half and full. Most people at Stetson are getting something less than half tuition, just a discount. But 28%, sorry, are getting half or more.
Okay, that makes it a little easier to read.
Yeah. Sarah.
Hi, I'm currently on the free plan of yours.
Yeah.
And I just had like some random questions regarding the premium and the live plan.
Yeah.
For the premium plan, I know that the lessons are in there. And do you see students generally succeed when they do like every single lesson, or are they like, no? Okay.
That's not what we're about. We're about doing lots of real LSAT practice and then using the lessons consultatively to figure out the stuff that you don't get. So if you're on any of our plans, including free, you're in there drilling or you're doing a timed section, you look at one of our explanations and it talks about, oh, this argument confuses sufficient for necessary, for example. We have lots of lessons on sufficient versus necessary. If you know you have a deficiency in sufficient versus necessary, then you should click on our lessons about sufficient versus necessary. But I wouldn't force that down your throat if you didn't have any problem understanding the difference between sufficient and necessary.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you.
I wouldn't start with the lessons. I would start with real LSAT questions.
With the drilling. Okay.
Yeah.
And then for your live classes, I was wondering like how many students are in the classes on average?
It depends a lot. It depends on the time of day. It depends on the topic. It depends on the teacher. It depends on the time of year. We just went through a real busy time. All of a sudden, classes are like half as full as they used to be. So, we had 40 a couple of weeks ago, and now we got 20 in many of our classes. But I will promise you this, they are small enough, Sarah, just like what's happening right now. The people who turn on their camera, especially the people who raise their hand, the people who participate, ask any question at all, it feels like a small group to me, even when sometimes, today there's 45 people here right now, but how many people are actually like really getting something out of it?
I see. Thank you. And then I did have one more random question. So my GPA from undergrad isn't like really where I want it to be. But I transferred from community college. So the overall cumulative GPA is kind of low in my standards. But the last 2 years of my undergrad, I did like maintain a 4.0. So I was wondering, like, as an admission officer, how much like do they really look at the transcripts, or would you recommend for me to write a GPA addendum?
You can write an addendum, Sarah, but I think it should be like 2 sentences.
Oh, okay. So
I
not
mean,
like
well, state the fact that your GPA was 4.0 for the past 3 semesters or whatever it was. Other than that, what do you need to say?
Got it.
I mean, that fact is so powerful, right? That's what you want to draw their attention to, is that fact that might lead them to go, oh, okay, she's a better student than her GPA reflects. But it doesn't help them, that addendum, it doesn't help them in law school rankings. And if your cumulative GPA is below their median, then you can point to the 4.0, but they're going to still have to report whatever your cumulative GPA actually is. So to the extent that they're concerned about it for law school rankings, they're not going to give one shit about your addendum. To the extent that they care about your GPA because they want to make sure that you've got the goods to, compete at their school, then they might be swayed by an addendum that says, hey, take a look at this. But like, you can't go on and on for a page about it, right? You're talking about your grades essentially, which were poor before that. So you want to just say, hey, look at the 4.0. And that's basically it.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Any questions before I go? Eric's going to hang out and answer questions maybe for a little bit longer. If they're still asking questions, Eric, obviously don't force it out of them. Okay. One last question for me, and then I am going to bail out of here. Alex.
So I just had a quick question. I saw that sometimes when people put their transcripts into the LSAT, that their GPA is actually higher than on their official transcripts. Is that the actual case?
You're talking about the Credential Assembly Service, LSAC
Yes.
GPA being different from your transcript GPA?
Yes.
It can go up or down.
Okay. If it goes up, do you know exactly like how that happens? Like exactly just how do they weigh everything?
No, it's a whole complicated thing where they're just trying to make up for differences. Some schools offer A pluses, some schools don't. Some schools, shit like that. And so they have to just adjust, pass, no pass on a PE tennis class or whatever. They have to make all kinds of adjustments, and it's all documented. But I recommend not worrying about it. You can't control it anyway. Just go ahead and upload your transcripts and just be done with it.
Okay, so I'm not thinking about applying until next cycle anyway. So, but I could go ahead and upload my transcripts now and that wouldn't matter?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
And the only value of doing that is so that you will know exactly what your UGPA really is, your LSAC UGPA really is. But whatever, it is what it is anyway, right? I mean, no matter what that number is, you still need the best LSAT you can possibly get.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just curious. All right, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, I'm out of here. Thanks, Eric, for holding down the fort after Abigail and I leave. We're going to go do the class over there in a different Zoom. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thank you for all your questions. Hopefully it was helpful. See you next time.
All right. Yeah, I'm happy to hang out for a few more minutes. You got more questions. The one thing I will say, going back to the topic of how to afford law school applications, for those of you, I think many of you will already be familiar with this or already know this. LSAT study does not have to be a full-time endeavor. I worked full-time while I studied for the LSAT, so you don't have to quit your job, despite what some people may tell you on Reddit or elsewhere in dark corners of the internet. You don't have to quit your job to study for the LSAT. You can study effectively for the LSAT with an hour, maybe 2 out of your day, while still working your full-time job and saving up money for not only law school applications, but those 3 years that you might take not working while you're in school. Yeah, Genesis, you got a question?
Hi, yeah. So I had a question about the report fee, I think the $45 fee. I didn't know that you could actually ask for that to be waived because like I've already applied, and I applied and then I withdrew because I was like psyching myself out. And so like I'm actually going to apply for next cycle, but I like stupidly paid that fee not knowing that I could waive it. How would I go about that if they like, what's the likelihood that most law schools do that?
I have only heard anecdotally that it's relatively uncommon. I think most schools, from what I've heard, most schools just still charge it, but I don't know that for sure. I think if you ask, it looks like Bonnie maybe has some experience. You're about to chime in.
Yeah. So I had applied to about 10 schools last cycle as well. And of those, 2 of them, I applied to them only because they had no application fee and they sent me a CAS fee waiver. So I wouldn't have applied to one of them otherwise, but they sent it to me unsolicited. And I was like, okay, well, I'll apply them. And one of them I got into, the other one I didn't. But by that time I had already withdrawn the rest of my applications on Nathan's and pretty much Nathan's advice. So, but then in the meantime, I hadn't qualified for the CAS, for the LSAC waiver last cycle, but because my income last year was so much lower than my income in 2020, I did qualify using my, my tax information from 2021. So for this cycle, I got the 6, CAS fee waivers through the LSAC waiver. And I had a couple unsolicited, a couple of the schools, I'll just mention a few of the schools that tend to offer unsolicited CAS fees. They're not like super high ranked or anything. One of them is Case Western Reserve, both Penn State University and Penn State Dickinson. And then I think Northern Kentucky University. So like, I think they all just pretty much, as long as you have some kind of score, because my score was pretty low last year when some of these schools offered it to me. So and then I've heard of other people like soliciting them and just presenting a case, like, especially if it's something where you live locally and you really want to go to that school, but maybe your tax information shows a higher amount than what your actual situation is right now. You can appeal to them directly and they might be willing. It's the thing is they have to actually pay LSAC that $45. So it's not like they're just avoiding charging you as they do with the fee, with their own application fee waiver. They're actually having to like send that payment over to LSAC in order to get a report from LSAC.
So that's why they make me pay it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I thank you for that. It makes sense. I'm just trying to make this process as affordable as possible because I'm an LSAT Demon Live subscriber and that it breaks my heart to like pay that, but I know it's super helpful. For me, it's been super helpful to like ask questions in real time. And like I
was a Demon Live subscriber too. And that was where I put my money after I realized I needed to withdraw those applications. And it was so worth it because my score went up like 19 points. You know what I mean? So it's a whole different ballgame this cycle.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks, Bonnie. Yeah, Genesis and everyone, I mean, the most, you can always just ask. It costs you nothing to send an email out to ask. And Bonnie, sounds like you only got 2, but that's $90 you saved, right? And
this cycle I got 2 more. So yeah, this cycle, so it was 4 altogether. So
yeah. Unless you send off just a strangely rude email, I don't think any school is going to hold it against you for asking. So yeah, might as well try. Christian in the chat asked, can you apply for the LSAT and CS waiver more than once? I think it's a one-time application, but you can appeal the decision.
Well, if you go across cycles though, and you have new tax information, you can also, and once you get it, it's good for 2 full years. So like, let's say you get it and then you go into a high paying job the next day, that's fine. You still have it for those 2 years, Great. So that was kind of like my income, my paper income had to catch up with with all that, so.
Yeah, I think they're going to make their decision based on what is provable and on record about your financial situation, right? So if that changes, then you can reapply or appeal their decision. But yeah. Giga Tyrone, you got a question?
Do you plan on retaking the LSAT?
I do not. I have my scores are already, my application's already in. I got a score that was good enough for me, where I was looking at the schools that I was interested in applying to and kind of what adding more points might do for my scholarship chances, and decided, this is where my practice test scores have been averaging out. It's gonna be fine. It was 99th percentile LSAT score, and at the time was above all but like 1 or 2 75th percentiles. That has changed, I think, in the last year, but still, it's my LSAT score was good enough for me. So
You took it just once, Eric? You took it just once?
I took it twice. Yeah, no, I did retake it because the first time I took it, I was, some points shy of where I knew I was on average practice testing. So I decided to retake it. But then second time, got a score that I liked, so I stuck with that one. Cool.
I have one more question. Do schools, like, I don't know if this makes sense, but like if you weren't doing anything for like, I don't know, a point in time, like after high school, like not necessarily, I don't know, but like if you weren't doing anything, do like schools ever like ask like what's this like free time about, like on your application, or what were you doing during a certain point of time?
Resume gap, that sort of thing.
Yeah, resume gap, right.
I think it might be something that gets looked at. I think the good news is most of what a school's making their decision on is going to come down to your LSAT score and your GPA. Sounds like you're out of school, so your GPA is behind you, but you still have the power to influence your LSAT score. I think to the extent that other stuff like your resume and your personal statement matters, it's in setting you apart from other applicants with similar GPA and LSAT score. Also, just in terms of like, do schools ask about it? Interviews in general, I think are somewhat rare. I've had a couple just like pre-recorded interviews where you log on to a system and they give you the prompt and you have 30 seconds to prepare, and then they record you. They give you like a minute. I've only had one live interview over Zoom, and there was a question about my resume. So that might get asked on the off chance that you have a live interview over Zoom. Those are relatively rare. Depending on when that gap was, like if it was during COVID and basically everybody's lives were up in the air, then they're probably willing to not care about it too much.
No, it was like my military experience, but I don't want to like reference it.
Well, that's usually a plus, but you're under no obligation to reference it. But usually, even if you don't want to say it specifically, if you traveled for the military, you could just say I was traveling, if you don't want to disclose that. But in most cases, schools are like super happy to know about military experience, but it's up to you.
Yeah. Plus one to that. I will also say, I think every application asks on the application, they will ask you, have you served in the military?
Oh, okay. So
you're not going to hide that anyways. I don't know what your, I don't know, and I don't need to know what the circumstances of your military service were. They will ask you, have you served in the military? And then for some details, they will also ask you, have you been dishonorably discharged from the military? So you do have to answer those things. I don't think that's something you would want to just not answer if you did, because like whenever you sit for the bar exam or have to deal with your state bar to become an attorney, they might, double check any details from your law school application, particularly related to any character and fitness issues that you report or don't report. And if there are discrepancies between what they know the record is and what you divulged on your law school applications, that could be an issue for you. So I would disclose, just in a matter of fact way.
So if you
what your background is.
I wasn't dishonorably discharged, but like, I don't know. Like I still got an honorable discharge, but so like, would you recommend like writing an addendum then in that case? Like if there's something that you want, well, if they're gonna ask about your military experience, I don't know like how deeply they look into it.
It's usually just a yes/no question, isn't it, Eric? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, they on the applications, it's a yes, no. They might, I think some of them ask for what your branch was, what your rank was. It's different from school to school. In terms of, like, again, I don't know, you have your own reasons for wanting to talk about it or not. I think generally law schools look favorably on military service. So I don't think you, unless there's something unusual about your service that you feel needs to be talked about, then I don't think you need to write any sort of addendum about it. If that is your reason for a gap on your resume, then put that on your resume.
Well, I just wasn't going to mention it, so that would have been the theoretical gap or the imaginary gap.
No, that's not a gap on your resume. That's like if you served in the military, that's on your resume.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, though.
Yeah, sure thing.
thank
Any
you,
other
Eric.
questions?
I'm gonna head out. Good night.
All right, good to see you, Bonnie.
I'm head out too. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. All right. We'll call up there then. Thanks everyone for coming. We do these every 2 weeks. I forget what is up next, but keep an eye out, and we'll do another free session with Nathan in a couple weeks' time. Hope to see you there.